Meeting to order. So we have you want to do the minutes from the regular council meeting?
Please. Yeah.
So we have minutes from November 1st and November 15th meeting, inaugural meeting. So I'll look for a motion to receive those minutes. So, okay, moved by Kathy and seconded by Hart. All in favor? And that's carried. All the other things there, as far as the cell phones and things like that, it's a little bit different today because we're starting off and close. Normally we're starting right into the audiences here and everything. So I would normally tell you to, turn your cell phones off and whatever. So, so next we'll get a motion to go into closed session under section 239. 2B, or are we doing the
Personal matters?
Yep.
Personal matters and training for council.
So we'll do this one, 239, 2B and 2C. Moved by our deputy mayor, that's going to be our deputy mayor Webb, and seconder Councilor Clement. All in favor? That's carried. So. All right, then, I'm going to call this meeting to order. I'll remind council of the your interest if it arises, and I'll ask you to turn your cell phones off or put them on vibrate so it doesn't disturb the meeting. And this is our first meeting of this term of council, so you've seen a few glitches happening here around computers and things like that, but we're going to move into this meeting. It's the first meeting of the 4-year term. We have lots of work ahead of us, and sometimes it's going to seem overwhelming, but if we work together, I'm sure we can get through this. So past 3 years have been really challenging, and the repercussions of the pandemic are really going to start to show when we get into the budget. I'm sure, because I've seen it other places that we're just starting to feel it now, especially in capital and things like that. So looking ahead, I'd like to see council reintroduce some things this term of council. One of the things is a student appointee. I'd like to look at that with the Norwood District High School, see if we can get somebody that's interested in coming over and keeping us updated on what's happening over at the Norwood High School. We did that a few years ago and it was really successful. And we haven't tried it in a long time. And now that we're working our way out of this pandemic, I'm hoping that we can try it again. And one of the other things that we always do is shared services is a big part of municipal government, especially with us. We work with our neighbors and we haven't been able to get together to meet other than through Zoom. So I'm hoping over the next few months, we can create some agendas to work with our neighboring municipalities and talk about some of the things, shared services that we have. So we've got lots of things going to be happening this term. Long-term care is still hot and heavy discussions right now. And, there's a lot of things happening in the background that I'm hoping over the next few weeks, we hear some positive things that will help us. And and we've got lots of capital projects happening over at the arena that as we work through that grant that we received, I think over this year, you're going to see some things happening over there too. So with that, I'll carry on with the meeting, and we have minutes here from the regular week.
We're good with that. That was done earlier.
All right, so we're going to move right into public meeting for zoning bylaw amendment. So I'll get a motion to go into the public meeting for the zoning. Moved by Kathy and seconded by Jerry. All in favor? And that's approved. So, okay, so the zoning bylaw amendment we have here is for Agute Devicus. Sorry if I made a mess of that, but was it close?
Very close.
Okay, this is a statutory meeting held under section 34 of the Planning Act. The owner and applicant is Agute Devicus. The property is described as lot 31 and part of block K, registered plan 35, concession 2, known municipally as 33 Fire Road 83F, having a property roll number of 1531-010-007-07700. Any person may attend the public meeting and or make verbal or written representation either in support or in opposition to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. Please keep your video off and they're in person, so I won't go into that, but if a person or public body does not make oral submission at a public meeting or make written submission to the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen before the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the Council of Corporation of the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen to the Ontario Land Tribunal. If a person or public body does not make an oral submission at the public meeting or make written submission to the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen before the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is passed, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to add the person or public body as a party. If you wish to be notified of the passing of the zoning bylaw amendment, you must make written requests to the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen. With that, I'll turn it over to Arya.
Through to you, Mayor. Good morning. Actually, I should say good afternoon, Council. I clearly haven't had lunch, so I hope it's okay that I have a chocolate bar here from any younger. And so the purpose of this or the effect of this report is to present for consideration and requisite approval of council to amend the township's comprehensive zoning bylaw in order to amend the existing seasonal residential zone to change the zone category to special district 259 in order to permit the redevelopment of the property in the form of one seasonal recreational dwelling, a new septic system, as well as some existing accessory structures, all subject to some site-specific provisions. So the recommendation of my report is that, subject to any new information or public comments received prior to or at the statutory meeting, that the draft bylaw be passed as presented, and that the balance of this report or my report be received. Excuse me. So just a little bit of background information in relation to this property. So the current owner is Agute Duvikas, of which Stan and Aldona, who are in the stand here, they are power of attorney. They did retain an agent, Black Point Construction. I do believe her name is Holly. And so I'm not sure if she's on the call. But the property is described as lot 31 and part of block K, registered plan 35 concession 2, the municipal address being 33 Fire Route 83F in the Methuen ward. The type of planning approval, the subject of this application is a zone amendment in accordance with section 34 of the Planning Act. The property is a shoreline property comprising a total of roughly around 1 acre with frontage on Methuen Lake. The property currently has vehicular access via Fire Route 83F. The property is currently developed with a seasonal cottage or a recreational dwelling, whichever you want to call it. And there are also an assortment of existing accessory structures which all have been put in place either pre-existing the zoning bylaw or building permits. So the proposed development is one, permit the construction or the redevelopment of 179 square meter seasonal recreational dwelling with an attached deck oriented towards the lakeside portion of the new cottage. The height of the new dwelling unit will be 23 feet, which is within the allowable height for recreational dwelling units in the seasonal residential zone. There are no changes being proposed to any of the accessory structures, as they all are currently existing, and this application has no bearing on it. And also the permit for the construction of a new septic system outside the high watermark setback, as illustrated by the attached permit. The application presently before council must maintain conformity with the provincial policy statement, the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe, the township and county's official plans, as well as the township's zoning bylaw. So just a little bit of a discussion about the PPS, we call it, or the growth plan. So the PPS is a land use planning document. It's issued under Section 3 of the Planning Act. Under the PPS, resource-based recreational development within like the rural areas, they are permitted and must ensure that the protection of these significant natural heritage features are protected. Similarly, the growth plan kind of takes the PPS and makes it even more confined. It does allow or permit resource-based recreational uses in rural areas, subject to section 4 of the growth plan. And section 4 also elaborates that development within 120 meters of a key hydrologic feature, which is lakes are included in that, would require a natural heritage evaluation just based off the wording. We just call it here environmental impact study or impact statement if the development is taking place within the 30-meter buffer. So the natural heritage evaluation was completed by the property owners at the request of the township. The property owners retained the ecological services of GHD, who drafted the EIS report, and they essentially to break down in smaller terms, despite the development being within the 30-meter high watermark setback, it did not pose any damaging effects on the natural heritage features adjacent to the property. Therefore, this application maintains its conformity with the PPS as well as the growth plan. Just a little bit, tiny bit about the county's official plan. The property is within the designation of shoreland areas and the waterfront, which does permit the development of cottage development. The redevelopment of the property in the form of a recreational cottage is permitted, and the EIS that accompanied the application ensures that the new development will not impinge upon the integrity of the natural heritage features. So there are no damaging features, the development that's going to pose to the natural environment. So it does maintain conformity with the county's official plan. The local township official plan similarly designates the property as shoreline, allowing recreational dwelling development. Furthermore, all development in the shoreline designation are required to incorporate this 30-meter buffer from the water. And however, the OP also acknowledges that in cases where the applicants cannot meet that 30-meter buffer, they are allowed to build within. However, we may ask, it is within the township's jurisdiction to ask for a natural heritage evaluation, which we have. We felt as if the township felt as if the redevelopment to a larger footprint, even though a lot of it is going to be on the existing foundation, did require the necessity of an EIS, in which the applicants were more than willing to provide this analysis and they have provided a justification for why they could not build outside that 30-meter buffer. And that's mainly because the property is heavily sloped towards the end. There's topographic constraints. So building outside the 30-meter buffer was essentially impossible. So the new development will, again, largely be on the existing footprint and come no closer to the water than the existing standards on the property. So the existing cottage, it won't be coming any closer than that. Therefore, the development maintains conformity with the township's official plan. And under the zoning bylaw, Schedule A1 of the zoning bylaw, the subject property is zoned seasonal residential. We're going to be changing the zone of this to special district, which essentially just means site specific. So we're going to really tailor the development to the site itself. As there's no need the application does not change any of the existing structures or anything, we're going to also allow the permission of them too. They're just sheds and sleeping cabins. So all in all, I would say that I conclude this report by stating that the applicants have, as well as their agent, I should say, have done everything that the township has asked, inclusive of the extra studies required at their cost. They have been more than willing to accommodate the changes that the township has requested, and therefore it is appropriate for council to approve this application. So far, half the agencies that we have circulated to have stipulated that they have no concern with the development. And because of the fact that the application maintains conformity with the PPS, the growth plan, the OPs, as well as the township zoning bylaw, it is my recommendation that this application be approved. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Arya. Okay, so I'm going to ask 3 times here. First of all, is there anybody wishing to speak in opposition of this application?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I am the agent on the file.
Okay.
Holly Richards Conley, and I believe that the owners and the builder are also in-house today. I'm just the only one. I just wanted to sort of reiterate a few points Arya mentioned in his report. We have already received a new application for the septic system. And I just wanted to sort of talk a little bit why we couldn't put further back than what we've currently proposed. There is a very large rock face Canadian Shield grouping directly behind this cottage, and it would have been absolutely impossible to push it any farther back. So what we've done is we've gone as possibly could without running into that rock wall behind the cottage. And lastly, on top of all of the recommendations in the EIS, the owners and the builder did meet with Crow Valley staff on site. Crow Valley have no issues with the application, and we have already submitted an application for a permit to Crow Valley for this redevelopment.
All right, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to ask for the second time. Is there anybody in opposition of this application? Third time, anybody in opposition? So we've heard from the agent. So anybody wishing to add in favor of the application? Second time, anybody wishing to speak in favor? Third time.
We're in favor.
Yeah.
The bill.
I'm glad that worked out that way. So. Okay, then. So, all right then. So we do have a recommendation in front of us here. What's council's thoughts?
Well, obviously, we've met all the requirements, right? Sorry,
Yeah.
geez, Mr. Mayor.
So, yeah, we need there's a recommendation here, so.
I'll make a motion. We approve that.
To go with the recommendation.
Recommendation.
All right, so moved by Councillor Webb, seconder, Councillor Clement, all in favor? And that's carried. Okay, thank you. So I'll get a motion to go out of the public meeting and back into our meeting. Somebody want to move that we go back into our moved by Councillor Doherty and seconded by Deputy Mayor Webb. Did I say councillor? No.
First time.
Probably. Yeah. Okay, all in favor? And that's carried. Everybody turn their sign.
It'll be recorded.
Read your sign.
Correctly, don't worry.
Yeah, return your sign. That stuff. Make it easier. Okay, so, so a lot of times we'll deal with the bylaw when we come out rather than wait till the end of the meeting. So, I'm gonna bring that bylaw forward. And that's bylaw 2022-073, for the zoning bylaw amendment. I'll look for a motion to move the bylaw. Moved by Deputy Mayor Giroux. Webb, we'll get it yet. And seconded by Councillor Clement. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so it is approved and moved through this part of the meeting. So
Yes.
with that, we're going to go into minor variances next. And
Thank you, council.
Thank you very much, Eric.
so the one thing I do have to do here to line up the agenda before we go into the minor variance portion of this or committee of adjustment, we have a couple of bylaws that we need to bring forward. And one of the bylaw is 2022-074. And the other one is 2022-075, and this is to appoint a council to committee of adjustment. So it's just a formality, but unfortunately, the way that the agenda is lined up, this should have been just ahead of it. So I'll look for a motion to approve those, or move them bylaws to let us go into the next part of the meeting. So, okay, moved by Councillor Clement, seconded by Councillor Doherty, all in favor, and that's carried. All right, then. So we're gonna, I'm gonna turn it over to Deputy Mayor Webb as far as the committee of adjustment. So you can make a motion to go into committee of adjustment.
Oh, you need the motion.
Well, it's a motion. Yeah, okay, it's a motion to go into committee of adjustment with Councillor Webb and Fair. Somebody want to make that motion? Moved by Councillor Doherty and seconded by Councillor Clement. All in favor? Carried.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and being the first time, I'll try not to screw this up too much already. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of Committee of Adjustment. I'll call this public meeting to order and remind the members of the committee that the department disclose any pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof if the occasion arises. This public meeting is held under Section 45 of the Planning Act and its regulations. We will now have the planning consultant, Aria Hijazi, present the minor variance reports.
Wonderfully said. Through to the chair, application A2122 for property owners Sherry Walker and Oren Simon with property address 1022 Fire Route 89 in the Methuen ward. The legal description of the property being part lot 28, Plan 13, Lot 9, currently zoned as seasonal residential, with also a shoreline designation in the township's official plan. The property owners retain the services of an agent. His name is Lucan Tucker. I do believe that he is present on the call as well as the applicants. The purpose of this minor variance application in front of the Committee of Adjustment today is to seek the relief from section 4.37 and 11.21C of the township's comprehensive zoning bylaw to permit the construction of 2 single-story additions to an existing recreational dwelling, having the following effects. Number 1, reducing the high watermark setback from 30 meters to 20 meters, as well as reducing the minimum required front yard setback from 21.3 meters to 20 meters. This application will have the effect of not reducing any of the setbacks and high watermark standards on the property beyond what is currently existing on the property. So the recommendation of this report is that minor variance application A2122 be approved with the following conditions: that the application or the development, be completed in accordance with the site plan submitted, that any requisite approval be received by applicable approval authorities prior to the issuance of a building permit, that the development meet all setback requirements pertaining to hydro easements, that a 20-day appeal period lapse prior to the issuance of a building permit, and that a building permit be issued within 12 months of the approval of this application, and as well the balance of this report be received. As my report stipulates, the township has determined that the application meets all 4 tests of minor variance, 1 being minor in nature, 2nd being desirable for the lands, 3rd in maintaining conformity with the comprehensive zoning bylaw, and the 4th maintaining conformity with the official. Having said that, it is also consistent with the provincial policy statement as well as the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe. This application was circulated to all applicable agencies, MNRF included, instead of Crow Valley, because the development takes place on Jack Lake, which is not within the watershed jurisdiction of Crow Valley. And so far, no comments have been received in opposition to this minor variance application. And that being said, it is the township's planning opinion that the application is appropriate for council approval. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Arya. Is the applicant or agent present today? Not here, but
Yes, I'm on. Afternoon, council and staff. Yeah, my name's Lucan. I was the applicant for Oran and Cherry. At this point, I don't believe that I have much to add to Arya's description, but I'm here to answer any questions that you guys may have.
thank you for that, Lucan. Is there anyone present here today wishing to speak or on the computer in opposition of this application? Second time, is there anyone here wishing to speak in opposition? Third and final time, anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Hearing none, is there anyone here present today wishing to speak in favor of this application? Lucan, do you have something to add or?
No, nothing much to add. As Arya was noting, we did our best to maintain all the existing setbacks and tailor the layout to the existing shoreline, and maintain the least impact.
Okay, thank you for that, Lucan. Second time, is there anyone present wishing to speak in favor of the application? Third time, anyone wishing to speak in favor of the application? Hearing none, open up the floor to any questions from the members of the Committee of Adjustment.
Just a question to confirm, is it just a coincidence that both numbers from side yard and high water marker 67? It's a coincidence.
Through to you, Mayor. So essentially the high watermark setback can be the front yard. Yeah, it's no coincidence. They're not the same thing, but essentially the front yard is regulated to a specific. Technically speaking, the front yard should be 30 meters.
Yeah, but it's 67 and the side yard 67.
Yeah.
So it's just a coincidence.
Absolutely.
Okay, good, thank you. I'll make the motion.
So, got a motion from Councillor Doherty to approve the application. Is there a seconder for the motion?
Sure.
Councillor Clement is seconding it. Any further comments or questions from anybody? Computer, no. I'll call a question. Oh, yeah.
For you, Mr. Mayor. So, that's the question area. So, when you say there's two buildings, like, are we privy to seeing the site plans at any time?
You Mayor, so it's two additions essentially, and
Two separate additions?
yeah, so it's an existing cottage. They were proposing one towards the rear of it and then one that was coming adjacent to the shoreline. With my application, I did send over the site plan, so I wasn't sure if you received that, but yeah, so the site plan it clearly delineates exactly where those additions are happening. One of it's being to the rear, which is totally supportable and from a planning perspective, and pretty much the variance was for the one that was adjacent to the shoreline, but in this case, it didn't impinge upon the existing standards on the property, so it is pretty standard.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
So we got a mover and a seconder for the motion. Call the question. All in favor of the motion? Has passed. That's what I say. So and we have two today, don't we? So we'll go right into the second one, I guess.
Through the chair, absolutely. So application A2222 for property owners Jamie and Ken Sampson. The property has a municipal address of 431 Fire Route 89 with legal description of part lot 10 and register plan 45R 14726 parts 1 and 2, concession 9. The property is currently zoned as seasonal residential with a shoreline designation in the current in effect official plan. The purpose of this minor variance application is actually twofold, or it's two-pronged, I should say. One, it's one to seek relief from section 4.37 of the Township's comprehensive zoning bylaw to permit the development of an addition within the high water mark setback. And the second one being to seek relief from section 11.21 of the Township's comprehensive zoning bylaw to permit the establishment of a new lot line in accordance with consent application B6922, which would be essentially reducing the side yard setback from 6 meters to 1.3. The recommendation of my report is that minor variance application A2222 be approved with the following conditions. That one, the development be completed in accordance with the site plan submitted, that any requisite approval be received by applicable approval authorities prior to the issuance of the building permit, that the development meet all setback requirements pertaining to hydro easements, that a 20-day appeal period lapse prior to the issuance of a building permit, and that a building permit be issued within 12 months of the approval of this application. So I really do want to take a step back and talk a little bit about the property and its background. So in order to kind of avoid any confusion. So essentially the property owners had first filed for a severance application. It was B6922. At the same time, it went to the county land division and they approved it. Everything was fine. At the same time, however, the applicants were also doing an addition to the existing cottage. It happened to be that this addition, maybe about 1 square meter of it fell within the high water mark setback. So they needed relief from the zone for that. And also one of the requirements under the severance was that they also do a minor variance to provide relief for that lot line. However, the Planning Act strictly prohibits 2 minor variances from being issued within 1 year. So we thought it was the best possible route to loop it all into one. So this is why I said it's twofold, the recommendation. Does that kind of make sense? Essentially, I mean, we can talk a little bit more about that, but it's essentially 2 minor variances looped into one, or else the property owners would have had to come back to council, ask for permission. It would have been a second minor variance application. It just would have been a waste of time and money for almost everyone. So we thought it was appropriate to just do it all, loop it all into one. As my report has determined, the application meets all 4 tests of a minor variance, both for the new lot line as well as the high water mark. And is consistent with the provincial policy statement as well as the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe. The application was circulated to all applicable agencies, inclusive of Crow Valley Conservation, and so far no one has commented we received nothing in opposition of the application. So that being said, this application is appropriate for approval from council. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Ari. Is the applicant or agent for this application here today?
Yes, we're online.
Would you like to comment?
Yes, just one correction at the beginning of your report, Ari. You stated the address was Fire Route 89. It's Fire Route 93.
Thank you. Anything else?
Yes, one more thing to add. We heard from Crow Valley yesterday that they have approved the file. We've submitted the payment and now we're just waiting for the permit itself.
Okay, and just for the record, do we have her name?
Sorry?
Sorry, can you state your name just so we have it for the record?
Absolutely. Jamie Sampson.
Thank you very much, Jamie. So is there anyone else present here today wishing to speak? Or sorry, anyone wishing to speak in opposition of this application? Second time, anyone here or on the computer wishing to speak in opposition? Third and final time, anyone wishing to speak in opposition of this application? Hearing none, is there anyone present here today wishing to speak in favor of this application?
Yes, we're in favor.
Thank you. Duly noted. Second time, anyone here present wishing to speak in favor? Third and final time, anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application? I'll open up to the floor for any questions from the committee. Just I have one, Aria, in terms of the 2-in-1. Do we do that a lot or?
Through to you, Mayor. So we have kept our records and we have done them in the past. It is kind of, we really want to do these under some unique scenarios. And this one was kind of unique, mainly in the sense that, so, and for new council here, the councilors here, so they had applied for a severance application, which we put a condition that they need a minor variance if that lot line came too close to their property, which is pretty standard. It happened to be that the new addition also, it met all the side yard setbacks and rear yards. It just 1 square meter of it just was inside the high water mark setback, which triggered the need for another minor variance as well. So a second minor variance, but the Planning Act doesn't allow that. They don't allow 2 minor variances under one two in the same year. So essentially there's 2 options. One option being we loop it all into one and take care of it all in one application because they're both minor in nature. Or we do 1 minor variance, the applicants come back and get a permission from council, and then they do a second minor variance.
So the new lot. Area, the new lot line, that's the severance. So did they accumulate more?
Like more.
And did they, no, so did they accumulate more land?
So essentially it's a consent application. They're just creating a second lot right next door. The lot was huge. It was,
Okay.
I mean, Jamie knows a little bit better than I do, but it was like around like 3 acres. It was more than enough for.
2.2 acres.
Yeah, it was essentially, it was more than enough to handle, 2 lots.
Okay.
So land division, essentially, Peterborough County Land Division essentially approved of it. Pretty normal for standard creation of new lots. However, we identified that if that lot line came if it was close to the existing structure, they may need a relief from the zoning, much like you would do through a minor variance. But it happened to be that that lot line did actually come close, so they would need relief. But also that addition also was in the high watermark setback by like 1 square meter.
Okay.
So essentially, a majority of this development is taking place outside the high watermark setback. It's literally 1 square meter that triggered another minor variance. So it's a matter of semantics here. I do believe that they're both minor in nature, and we can just loop it all into one and take care of it. Save everybody some time.
Mayor Martin?
Yeah, so I'd be prepared to, we've done this lots of times as far as we always tell people when they're doing a minor variance. Not same as this exactly, but we always say, put everything in your minor variance at once, saves. And this is one of those things where they weren't good, they didn't think they needed to, but, so I'd be prepared to make a motion that we approve this, application.
So we got a mover in the Mayor Martin. Do I have a seconder for the motion?
Yeah.
Kathy's gonna, sorry. excuse me. Counselor Clement will second the motion. Any other questions before we move ahead? Counselor Doherty.
Are you, Deputy Mayor, are you, I'm a little confused. So these are, there are two lots. They're applying for a severance on the one lot, separated in half. We've created a new lot with 4.3 feet side yard setback. Is that correct?
So through to you, Mayor. Technically, yes. So we've created, so this doesn't, we're not approving a severance at all. That's already done. We essentially said that if that lot line is created to create like two essential law, one retained, one severed. If that lot line comes too close to a structure or within reasonable distance to the existing structure, they need to get relief from the zoning permit. Okay, so they essentially are creating a lot line. It's within 1.7 meters of the existing structure. They needed to put that line there anyway because they had to have enough space on the you know, the separate lot. I mean, we can talk about it more in depth and I can show you on the mapping what I'm trying to illustrate, but.
So we're comfortable with a 4.3 foot side yard under this circumstance?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
With clarification there, Counselor Doherty. We're good to move ahead. Okay, so questions on the floor. We got a mover and a seconder, so we'll call the question. All in favor of the motion? And that motion is carried. With that, thank you very much for in their area. I think you're still hanging around with us for a bit, so I'll now take a motion to adjourn the public meeting and return to the chair to Mayor Martin with the regular meeting. Counselor Doherty, seconder, Counselor Clement, all in favor. Take it away.
Thank
All
you
right,
very
then.
much.
You. So we're gonna move into planning reports, and our first planning report here is a report for an open road allowance purpose pro-pate. It's area, you're gonna take care of this?
Through to you, Mayor. Yes, the purpose and effect of this report is to present for consideration and requisite approval of council to request a request to stop up and close and convey a portion of unopened road allowance to the property owners who are identified. I'll state their names later on, but the recommendation of this report is that council agree in principle to the request from the property owners to stop up, close, and convey that portion of unopened road allowance by bisecting the property, having the civic address 449 Fire Route 87. Second, that the township staff provide the applicants or the property owners with the necessary requirements in order to fulfill the stopping up, closing, and conveying the unopened road allowance, as well as the balance of this report we received. So a little bit of background information in relation to this property. So the municipality received a request from Ethan and Mark Crow, who under the corporation called Real Corp Management Holdings, they were requesting the proposed acquisition of approximately 291 feet of unopened road allowance, which bisects their property from shoreline of Jack Lake. The property is described as concession 8 part lot 131 with municipal address of 499 Fire Route 87 in the Methuen ward, having the property roll number 153101000747900. If approved, this would provide a shoreline frontage of approximately 209 feet to the abutting lot. There's currently an existing recreational dwelling unit located directly on the unopened road allowance. No building permits were ever found in the township database regarding the existing dwelling unit. However, data from the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation did conclude that, or it indicates that the cottage was built in the 1950s, which was essentially predating our current and past zoning bylaws, as the very first one was 1974. The property is currently water access only, so it's essentially, I like to characterize it as a mainland island, almost. The township records indicate that the past property owners have requested previous purchase of the unopened road allowance dating back to 1961 with no clearly there's no conclusion. So I've done a planning analysis of the matter, and in general it is the position of council that the ownership of unopened road allowances remain with the township. However, council may, at its sole discretion, consider the closing and conveying of the unopened road allowance if one or more of the following circumstances applies. And it's a shore road allowance that abuts and is directly in front of a shoreline lot where there are no matters of public interest identified. So essentially, the closing and conveying of the unopened road allowance meets this above test because it meets that standard. It is a shore road allowance that abuts and is directly in front of shoreline lot. There are also no matters of public interest identified. I'll be speaking into relation about that in a little bit. So as in the township's planning opinion, the shore allowance not only abuts and is directly in front of a shoreline lot, it also does not presently serve any form of public interest. As the lot is primarily accessed via water access only. Therefore, the unopened road allowance is eligible based off of the description or criteria under the official plan. Furthermore, the road allowance is currently not being used for any form of recreational purpose or any, trail associations or lake clubs. Section 3.3.4.6 of the township's official plan also states that unopened road allowances that provide public access to lakes within the township. Council will only consider applications for closure if provided that the unopened road allowance leads to a lake or leading to water and is incapable of contributing to any lake access to other residents of the township. As previously stated, the township has identified that the unopened road allowance is along a shoreline property that is considered water access only and virtually cannot contribute to any form of public access to Jack Lake. Furthermore, the unopened road allowance is also, its location is highly unlikely to perform any useful function of the township's roadway system. Therefore, the closing will neither result in the denial of lake access for other property owners. Therefore, it is the township planning opinion that the stopping up, closing, and conveying of the unopened road allowance along the shoreline of the adjacent property maintains the spirit and is in conformity with the township's official plan. I just want to talk a little bit about the zoning bylaw because it's very important here. So the closing and conveying of the unopened road allowance would essentially, from a planning perspective, create a net improvement to the site. And for one, the existing dwelling unit is situated directly on the unopened road allowance, with no presence of any encroachment agreement or anything. So currently, the subject dwelling can be considered a legal non-conforming structure situated on a portion of the property that is not currently permitted. So closing and conveying the unopened road allowance would bring the structure or the property, I should say, into further conformity with the zoning bylaw. Furthermore, section 4.11 of the zoning bylaw also stipulates that no person shall erect any building or structure in any zone unless the lot upon which such building or structure is located fronts upon an improved public street, and this is the key point, or a navigable waterway, provided the lot is located in a seasonal residential zone. So the subject lot is in the seasonal residential zone, and it currently does not have access to a navigable waterway, as the lot is technically like the road allowance kind of, if you see it right there, it's technically beyond the, exactly. So I would characterize this as a backlotted property. And so if we did convey that road allowance, it would actually give them access to the shoreline, which would bring it into even more conformity with the zoning bylaw. And that pretty much concludes my report. As it currently exists, the remaining segments of the unopened road allowance, they don't serve any future benefit to the township. Therefore, it would be appropriate for council to approve this.
So it's only the one road, like only that one cottage, 28261, that's the place where people live.
Through you, Mayor. So that's essentially, no, that's the pin. The road allowance is the one that's right in front of it. See, if you see, technically that structure is, and the existing the existing recreational cottage is actually on that road allowance. So moving that structure outside that area is just, it's affixed to the ground. And also here we can see it, it's kind of backlotted, like it's in front of the, in front of the shoreline. So the property doesn't legally have shoreline access. If we did convey it to them, they would have shoreline access, legal shoreline access.
So is that not what the road allowance was for, to give them all access to the lake?
Through you, Mayor. So that is true. There are areas in the township where the road allowance does lead to water, but this one is pretty much on a water access only property. So I'm gonna give it to council to decide of whether or not it is a useful piece of land if they wanted to keep it. In my planning opinion, it's unusable. We did also bounce this off our consultants who also agreed that it is pretty much unusable. We might as well just sell it off.
So these things are always scary things to do. We always hate to close off a road allowance because we have been burned before. This one here, the 0062, even though it's a small little piece of property, I don't know if it and 0061 are together. By closing this, it still has water frontage on 0061. I don't know how many feet that is. So they do both have water access. So I can see where this is okay. If a road was ever put in there, I would hope it would go across the back of the properties and not through the front of the properties. These things are, I guess, more scary if if there's a road there already and we're going to block something off here. Right now, there's nothing there, so I understand what Artie is saying. That being said, if you need more information, you know, we can come back, but I think this is it does make good planning sense in my opinion from what I can see here. So yeah.
Through you, Mayor Martin. So you're telling me there's nothing around, no other buildings in this area?
Through to you, Mayor. No, there is. So those are individual lots and they all have cottages along it. So if we did end up conveying that road allowance, it would probably make sense to also convey it to the neighboring property as well. So what the process is, and Bob knows this a little bit better than I do, we would essentially put it on an open market. It would be like a fair value. You would have an appraiser and a surveyor determine the value of the unopened road allowance, and then you would convey it. There's a process in place, and it's a long process. My report stipulates that in principle, if we approve of this, if council approves of it, we would approve of it in spirit, so in principle, and then we would provide the next steps to the property owner if they wanted to go through with it. They go through with it. If they don't.
So they will be buying it from us for a fair market value.
Yeah.
And we're going to offer the same thing to the people on 61 and 62, part of it?
Through to you, Mayor. I do believe that would be logical. However, I would go through Bob and the executive branch to kind of see how that process would take place. We may have to reach out to the adjacent property owner and just be like, hey, the neighboring property is buying it. Do you guys want to?
And normally in that process, there's a, you know, is it 60 foot or 60 foot road allowance?
Yeah, something like it.
So normally, so both properties would get an opportunity to purchase half of it type of thing. So, so I guess once the line's gone through from the blue property out to the lake, you're going to have a real dead end there. And if we decide to go that route, it would probably be put out to them that, you know, one of them can buy it. They would both get an opportunity for 50%. If one of them denies it, you know, the other one could possibly take the whole thing, but that's not even in the cards today. That's something that could happen
We're just
later.
offering it to them at this
Yeah, we
point.
wouldn't even offer it to them right now. It's the main thing here is the application right now for 0060. That's all we're dealing with today.
They want the road closed.
They want it closed so it squares up the lot to the lake. Right now,
Oh,
there's
so
a lot of things around the lakes. A lot of lakes have this road allowance in front of them.
Yeah.
I know Kosh Lake had tons of them. I know some of them were only 20 feet. I don't know how big this one is, but
Well, does that not go for the other cottages?
Through to you, Mayor. So that's M&RF territory.
So it's a different.
yeah,
When you say, which one is him?
the
M&RF is the
the
bigger.
blank one. The one that doesn't have a number to it.
Okay, and
One on the left.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, so that's it. Yeah, so that's not, the only thing in the discussion today is 0060.
Right.
And, you know, like I say, it's a hard thing. You want to make sure you're putting a lot of faith in everybody that's looked into this thing. This one looks like it's pretty safe, but it's something in the future you want to keep an eye on, because if it's leading to water, and there's an opportunity somebody can use that. We don't usually close them when it's kind of like on an island. So I think that's the key words there. It's there's no roads around it that we're blocking somebody off with their vehicles. So
Through to you, Mayor. That's exactly.
Make a motion that we go with Ari's recommendation to start the process.
okay, so we have a mover for the recommendation.
Back at the jury's question.
Okay, you're seconding it. Okay, Jerry, speak to the motion.
I can't see the numbers, but to the right of 2861.
Yep.
That's a lot. And a cottage on it. And behind it is
Open space.
open space, and the same to the left of it.
It's essentially open space. It's a private property. It's M&RF property. So they own that larger lot. And where the cursor is currently at the moment, that's what you're referring to?
Yes.
It's a private lot. It's open space.
So we're cutting off access to the lake from the open area by selling this piece of property.
To make an illustration.
It's private property.
Essentially what happened
It's government property.
right here,
The red line would come there.
like that.
Yep.
That would become blue essentially. This would still be retained by the adjacent property owner. This would also be retained by the adjacent property owner. It only goes to the extent of here.
So it doesn't block off the other property.
If you close the road, how do you get in?
There is no road. It's
No, hypothetically. If you close off the road, you're landlocking the other people that are in.
well, there's no possibility of being a road with you. That sliver would never be wide enough for a road anyways. That's in front of that empty lot. It's not even a full road allowance. It's in the water. So that's what makes this one different from other things is, there's no chance that's going to be a road. It could possibly be on the other side, but there's already buildings on those properties. So, yeah, that empty lot, we're not closing anything off there.
It doesn't go right into the lake, Jim? The road doesn't go right into.
The road
lake?
goes across. It doesn't, it's like the road allowance goes across. It's not going out.
So this is the lake, is it? Yes, this is the lake.
Yep.
So if you close it off, bring this line down to here. Okay, so what's this?
That's M&RF.
Okay. Okay, so then when you do that, then there's no way.
That's-
You can get, this becomes part of their land then, so they don't need to close this off.
So they don't need to close it off, but I mean, we can approach them and be like, do you want to buy it? And
Yep.
so
But why would you?
Yeah, no, we wouldn't go there. That would be getting beyond where we.
I think the main point is also that there's already a cottage literally right there.
Really? Goes
Oh, yeah.
property.
Oh, yeah. In my report, it stipulates the cottage is literally on the road allowance.
Wow.
And that's all, there's lots of them around.
So making
Yeah.
a road, one, it's not long enough. Second, it's not wide enough. Third, there's already a structure on there. So this all adds to that planning justification, and I agree with Mayor Martin's assessment.
When we get into a lot of this, it's not gonna, if we go by the book, it's not gonna work. Not, I don't mean by the book, but I mean, in terms of what he's talking about here, nobody else is gonna use that road. Like, there's only two properties there.
Exactly, because we want to make sure of that, because we're gonna.
Who else could use it?
Okay, so we've got a mover and a seconder on the floor. So I'm gonna call a question here. All in favor of the motion?
We're just starting the procedure, so I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
Carrie.
okay with that.
We're not selling it.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Martin, just to further that last comment, we are just commencing the process today. And the first part of that process is to declare that property surplus. The council will have several opportunities to change your mind, if you wish.
So, okay, so we have that, and you know, in the future, I don't know, Aria, if it's possible, but probably even hash marks on that part that you're looking at, just to give a better vision of what's there. It might help a little bit in the future.
I absolutely agree with that. And there are a lot of areas where these are unopened road allowances. It's impossible for it to become a road. So you might as well just close it off, sell it, and then it'll just be more revenue to the township. Having said that, Councillor Webb is absolutely correct. There are some of these situations where it can or has the potential of adding to the network system of the township. Those are but this one, it's so small and it's honestly, and it's on an island. So I can't see a public highway going through that at all whatsoever.
Well, no, I was just concerned with boat launches. People love to go on the lake, right? So if we're cutting off from other
Yeah.
people that live back there and have for years, went down that road, you know, then that's kind of not
Absolutely.
nice either.
So there is the opportunity on the other side. There is an empty lot on the other side too. That has no road allowance in front of it, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, okay, so we'll move on to the next item on the agenda here, and that's temporary use agreement here. Tanya, you're gonna take this one?
Okay, Mayor and members of council, welcome. The purpose of this report is to present for council's consideration a request to enter into a temporary use agreement with Pam and John Lapperton of 2931 Road 48. They requested that they have permission to continue living in their existing dwelling while they construct their new single-family dwelling on the same property. The recommendation is that mayor and clerk be authorized to enter into an agreement with John and Pam Lapperton to remain in their existing dwelling during the construction of a single-family dwelling on the property located at 2931 County Road 48. The existing dwelling will be demolished at the conclusion of the construction period. We're going to give them 12 months. If they extend that, they will have to come back with a second request to extend that. Temporary use agreements are permitted by the Municipal Act and the Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw. The applicants will be required to pay a deposit, which is usually $1,200 to cover the expense of registering the agreement on title and then having it removed. The bylaw and the agreement will be presented at a future meeting, and I'm hoping to take that to the January 17th meeting. And then from that meeting, I'll have the dates for the 12. Because typically I don't believe they're going to be starting construction until likely March. So it would be nice to give them maybe March to March.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. So, so we have the recommendation here is that the mayor and clerk be authorized to enter into agreement with John and Pamela Lapperton to remain in their existing dwelling during the reconstruction of a single family property located 2931 County Road 48, and the roll number is there. So what's council's thoughts here? It's something that we'll be doing again. This happens regularly, so people can build, and it's nice that they're actually going the proper route here. Usually it happens without that, but then we have to go the other way. So, okay. Yeah. Okay. Councilor Doherty moves it. Do I have a seconder? Mayor Webb seconds it.
Can I just ask a question on the
Sure.
demolition, Sonia? We give them a year and that doesn't happen, they get an extension. Would that be 6 months, another year, or is that discretionary?
It's discretionary, but I think it's typically 6 months.
Yeah.
We've only done it one other time and it was for 6 months.
And what happens if they don't tear it down?
Well, they'll be against the agreement. So then we would have to.
Okay, and then
That's right.
what's that mean?
Null and void.
Hmm?
The agreement's null and void.
But the house, the new cottage is built then,
Yeah, we would put an order into
Yeah.
demolish.
so there is a mechanism, I think.
Yes.
Okay, good, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I've just seen some demolition properties that we've done this in the past. And I can take you to one that the building still is there. So that's why I was asking what the ramifications were. I think it's looked after now, but I just, that's all,
All right, then.
clarification.
Can I just make an area? Thank you for that drawing. Drawings are always a good thing. They help a lot. Thank you, both of you. Thank you.
Absolutely, I agree, and you know, I'm a big on, I'm a visual person too, so I send those site plans.
Thank you.
All right, then. Thank you. So that's the end of the planning report. With that, we're gonna,
Through you, Mayor Martin, I don't believe we took a vote on that.
all in favor? Sorry. Thank you. That's what you're there for. So, okay. So now we're done with the planning report and we're gonna move into delegation. So,
Sonia, Sherry, come in.
Yeah.
Thank you.
so delegations and David and Amanda, are you gonna team this or are you gonna take care of it?
Decide who's gonna represent it. Oh. Alrighty.
Am I the first delegation to the new council?
Yeah.
I feel incredibly honored. I really do.
There's a Kit Kat.
Oh, just go back here. Hello, Mayor Martin, council and staff. Thank you for having me here today on behalf of the HBM Proud Committee and the Havelock Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to read the report in the agenda. In October, I graduated from Ryerson University with a certificate in economic development. And I'd like to acknowledge the work of my colleagues at Ryerson for the work they contributed into rating the paper, the economic impact of the Havelock Fire and Ice Festival. Ashton Watson and Chlorine Dene. I'd also like to acknowledge the work of Sherry Gottschalk, our Economic Development Officer, and Tracy Bertrand, who is the Director of Tourism for Halliburton County. Both people have gone above and beyond to share their knowledge, time, and passion for the community. So I'd just like to acknowledge that and thank them. In 2018, HBM undertook the task of developing an economic development and tourism strategy. The strategy was the catalyst in developing the Fire and Ice Festival and the outdoor rink. The Fire and Ice Festival represents many of the recommendations in the strategy, such as extending the tourism season, driving economic impact, boosting community pride, and building a stronger economy. Since the development of the strategy began, HBM Proud has held 2 successful events in 2019 and 2020, with the festival being canceled due to COVID in 2021 and 2022. And also this season marks the 5-year anniversary for the outdoor rink. The success of the event is due largely to the concept of blending arts and culture with winter sports. We've been successful in creating local and national attention for the festival, largely due to our selection of talent. Hockey stars like Doug Gilmour have been a huge hit in our community and in attracting festival goers from a larger geographical area. So we've received much positive support from the community, including this Facebook review from Sarah Menzies of Menzies Developers. This festival has brought the community together, created revenue for local businesses and community groups, and brought in many out-of-town folks who are just as excited as we were to attend this fabulous, well-run event. It is amazing what HBM Proud has pulled together for the town of Havelock. And this is a Facebook review from Ken Hadall, who is Doug Gilmour's sports agent. Doug Gilmour and I spent most of Saturday, February 8th, 2020 at the Havelock Fire and Ice Festival. The festival and ice rinks were first class to say the least. We were both overwhelmed and impressed, not only in the event, but with the entire community as well. You should be proud of yourselves, Havelock. Thanks for having us. Key findings from HBM's economic development and tourism strategy include the need to develop tourism anchors and other than the cottage industry. priority should be given to the shoulder season tourism products. Peterborough and the Kawarthas Economic Development and Destination Marketing Organization identified that HBM is heavily dependent on tourism, with 86% of businesses catering to the visitor economy. The regional and provincial tourism action plan strongly promotes expanding tourism products into the shoulder season to maximize benefit. This will become increasingly important to HBM with the uncertainty surrounding the Havelock Jamboree. In 2020, HBM Proud received $5,600 from Havelock-Belmont-Methuen and a combination of funding for the festival and in-kind support. The festival has always been heavily supported by the business community with over 41 sponsors in 2020. Data collected at the 2020 festival shows approximately 1,618 visitors attended the event. Approximately 128 people visited from over 60 kilometers away and created a net direct economic impact of just over $41,000. 2019 RTO8 visitors calculate the average amount spent by a day visitor in the Kawarthas is around $141 a day. So these are just a few enhancements that we are proposing for the 2023 festival. We'd like to shift the focus to a 30-day winter event, and this will allow HBM more opportunity to attract visitors in the shoulder season. We'd like to work with entrepreneurs to leverage their business in this season. And we're working with Bridget Laquette. She's an Indigenous Olympic hockey player, to have her come to the festival. And we'd like to create opportunity for local teams to participate in the event. By increasing the event to a 30-day winter festival, we'll increase the total visitor target to 4,485 visitors. By increasing our visitor target, we can increase the benefit to HBM to just over $600,000. We hope to achieve a target of 20 business sponsors for the festival. We also realize that many sponsors are still in economic recovery from COVID-19. And we've also partnered with the Havelock Chamber of Commerce to apply for a FedDev tourism relief funding. To run the festival, HBM Proud requires partnering with the municipality. The partnership would include a $20,000 investment to help finance the event. A detailed financial postmortem would be provided to the municipality after the event from the Chamber of Commerce and HBM Proud. I also wanted to add that this ask has also been endorsed by the HBM Economic Development Committee in November. We've applied for FedDev tourism relief funding with the chamber in the amount of $80,238. If we receive this grant, it will allow us to hire a festival coordinator for 3 months, open the visitor kiosk on the weekends during the festival, pay for festival talent, and purchase capital investments to grow the festival. We will not know if we receive the grant money till mid-January, and all money from the grant must be spent by March 31st. 2023. Together with this investment, we can create an economic impact of over $100,000, 5 times the municipal investment. And even if we maintain like our 2020 numbers, which I absolutely know we can do, we'll create an impact of over $200,000 in tourism receipts based on the RTO8 visitor spending for the Kawarthas. If we can realize our target of bringing 4,485 visitors to HBM over a 30-day period, we will inject over $600,000 into our economy. So these numbers might seem large and unattainable, but I really don't think they are. For example, during the first annual pumpkin parade, one business owner realized a $900 increase in sales over the time of the event. And that's just one restaurant in Havelock. So that was, over 300 people going to the pumpkin parade. And the economic impact of just one business was $900. So it's pretty incredible what festivals and events can bring to the municipality in terms of tourism dollars. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. So yeah, there's lots of questions around this. One of the things, like, I think we've all said, a winter carnival is a great thing, and I know the ones that you've pulled off so far have been really rewarding. So it is needed in the community. There's no arguing that. Some of the things around this that we did talk about at the economic development. I don't think we supported the $20,000. We supported the concept. I don't think it was the number, because that's something that, the committee doesn't have any say in. That's going to come to council here and will be decided on. So in your report here, you had that in the past, we provided $3,000 in funding, so $2,600 in kind. The one number that's not there is there was 41 sponsors. And it doesn't say how much you made from that. So when we get into public money to sponsor something like this, the books have to be 100% accurate, and we need to know every little detail. And that would be something that I would think would have to come forward before we could ever move forward on this number. The other thing, going over this is the timing. It's too bad that I hate being against the wall. We're just going into budget discussions now. Most organizations, when they're doing these things, are a year ahead. To come now, I imagine it's time sensitive. You probably need to know before next week comes. And I don't think that'll be decided, but that's up to council today. What the number would be and what we think we can afford. There's a lot of things to look at here. So I'm going to open it up to council, but I just want you to know that that's what I got out of the economic development meeting also is the number here. It's ambitious, like $80,000 and spend it in 2 months. If you get that grant, is that what you're saying?
I'm sorry?
The $80,000 grant, is that what the grant would be, 80,000, or is that everything accumulated together? Because you said you get it in January.
The grant was just over $100,000 with everything accumulated.
And you have to spend it by March
31st.
Okay. So
Wait, is that one grant or two? Because it had tours, it's just one?
It's the relief tourism or tourism relief fund. Is that debt?
okay. So there's a lot of details here that we're gonna have to find out as far as before we could commit to $20,000. I think we need to have some more discussion. And like I say, I wish this was maybe in the spring. Like I know other organizations that are planning and they're usually a year ahead. So this is really putting us in a bad way to try and make this decision. We can go by all your numbers here, but we're going to have to see something that to show us that that's on paper 100%. Some good detailed entries here. But
sorry, I have a couple questions too. Sorry, Dave. So two of them. So I noticed you said you were partnering with Farmers Market.
Chamber of Commerce.
Chamber.
Yes. Wasn't the Farmers Market was up there on the second or third last?
That's an idea for it's not necessarily the Havelock Farmers Market, although they might be involved. That's an enhancement. The concept was to have some type of a market at the school during the event.
Okay, just because I'm on Farmers Market and we're not having our next meeting till April, so I just sort of for a bit. So, and I'm sorry, we got a couple of financial people here. So is there any chance of you giving us more of a breakdown where this money's been spent? Like how much is it for the water? How much is it for the liner? How much for the people? How much for the public washrooms? Like more breakdown. And let's see where the money is. Like I'd like a financial report is what I'm looking for. I think Jerry would too. We're financial people. We're, transparency and due diligence. We promise we're spending taxpayers' money. Your money, my money. We got to show them where it's going. So Can you give us a better audit?
Sure. There might be some information in the paper attached to the report as far as budgets in the appendices. You might be able to find it there too. And we can also create a report. I mean, most of that is already in place with the application for our grant to FedEv. We've already created our budget for.
So, okay, how much does this total project cost? 120,000, 100,000, 80,000? How much does the total, how much are you looking for from us, your grant and the public?
In total, the amount is just over $100,000, and that's capital expenditures that we'll be able to buy if we receive the grant. Without the grant, we're looking at like it's somewhere around $30,000 to put on a basic festival. So this is a one-day event, similar exactly like what we've had in the past. With the opportunity to write this grant, you're able to apply for up to $100,000 in funding. So we added a full-time festival manager, opening up the kiosk, new chimneys for the festival as part of the grant writing opportunity.
Paying this person a salary for the 3 months or whatever?
One person for 3 months, yeah.
I think it gets back to what we were talking about though, in terms of what Kathy's getting at is the money, like I said, we talked about ECDEV. If we give you the 20 grand this year, and we haven't yet, but we need some kind of assurance that you're not coming back next year for another 20 or the year after, right? And plan on how you're gonna, I think that's what she's getting at, is it?
Well, I want to see what it's costing. I need to know.
Well, I understand that, but I mean, still too, like I said, in terms of you get 100 grand and we're just gonna spend it on somebody's salary for a year or two, right?
Yeah, like.
Then 2 years down the road, we're gonna have to recoup. Who's gonna pay the salary? Because the grant money's gonna be run out, right? And that's, I think, for me as the economic development person, when you brought it, we brought that up in terms of, I thought the grant money, you said you were applying for the grant, the 20 grand, I can see possibly us getting into a loan situation whereby if you get the grant, you pay us back, right? But now I'm hearing kind of it's 100 grand for the grant, and then you still want the 20 from here. So I'm kind of shifting over here, and that, why do you need so much money? Like, that's a lot of money to put on a winter festival.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
Dave,
so-
I want to commend you because you've done an amazing job. I did a lot of research on fire and ice because I didn't realize how big it was. It's worldwide. You've done an amazing job for our small town. But again, transparency, we've got to show the taxpayers where we're spending their dollars, and you are aware of that. Like I said, you're doing a great job. Most of them are just the 2 days. What made you decide you wanted to go? Like, is it the grant money that made you go 3 months? And 2 days is amazing. Like, I looked at like brace, like some.
It's the opportunity to increase visitor spending that makes the grant more appealing.
Hey, come and do a summer thing for us.
Okay.
But no, I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
sorry, there's,
So,
sorry.
Sherry has something, and then Jerry.
So I'm playing a support role for the chamber as well as HBM Crown. And so as we approached this, as we were sort of preparing the grant, the province and FedDev Ontario laid out exactly what they were looking for, because more than 300 festivals are being supported now, and they're spending a lot of money trying to boost festival events because it's jobs, new visitors, and of course, boom to our economy. But as we approached this, we knew that we wanted to shift away from looking to council to be sort of a long-term financier. And that requires having that seed money. So there is that initial requirement to meet our 2023 obligations. And that begins almost immediately. And the ask that we have on the table today that David presented does break down, mind you, it's high level numbers. It does break down what they're looking, and that will deliver a minimum of your 1680. That's 1,618. That's if you were to increase or add all of the elements. And in the application for the grant, they've really built in all of these fundamental activities that really enrich the event. It would be 2023 that benefits from that. Because now the fact that you'd be looking at, there's capital expenses there and chimeneas, there's benches, it really does take it to the next level. It also increases and gives you the opportunity to have seed money for 2023 and becoming much more independent I know that part of the discussion was the need for transparency and a willingness to provide a reporting mechanism through the chamber so that there's greater transparency and oversight. I'm trying to think out also just so that there's some clarity that we definitely want to move forward with a 2023 event that does require funding. If we're successful with our grant, we are in a position where we'll be able to become much more independent in terms of the chamber and HBM Proud going forward.
So for the Zoom audience, Jerry Gottschalk is our Economic Development Officer. We probably should have had you at the table. So
Sorry, yes.
yeah, but just so anybody that's watching this later, that's where that message is coming from. So Dave, or Jerry, go ahead.
This will be the third one. You have
The third festival.
Do we have financial statements from 1 and 2, and are they available?
Financial statements for one are, and the second one isn't yet, but they could be. I think that they've been submitted to council.
I didn't see them attached. Were they attached? I didn't see.
They wouldn't be attached. It was at a meeting quite a while ago.
Okay, no, it's just now you're talking about long-term thing, Jimmy. You're going to rely on. You're going to have some assets in the future. Maybe you have them now. I don't know.
Yeah.
But and then again, we need to see the double line on the bottom of the thing there, that revenue in, revenue out. So kind of get an idea to what it is. Just from my time anyway. But
Sure. Do you have anything else to add then, Dave? Or?
No, well, from a volunteer perspective, I always feel like that's what's missing is like the amount of work that it takes to run a festival and the outdoor rink. It's immeasurable. To write grants with the Chamber of Commerce, it translates into days off for me. Like it's family time. It's a huge commitment. And I'm just not sure that I'm actually willing to do any more unless there is some kind of a partnership with the municipality. And really that's like what this is about, like to raise money for a festival, run an outdoor rink, run the festival. It's way too big of it's too big of a job. It's too big of a job for any committee. And this is about building partnerships. And in a sense, I want to see where this council is at, because I really should be focusing probably more on my own family and my own business. And probably maybe my feeling is truthfully not giving so much back to the community, which is really a shame because it's where my heart is. But the amount of work that's gone into this project is immeasurable. And it's not only me, there's like a handful of people. And I think it's really important to just acknowledge that and find out where council is at. Like this isn't a job, this is a volunteer. Like we are doing this to increase tourism and economic spending in Havelock-Belmont-Methuen as a volunteer group.
So across Ontario, there's lots of municipalities that have this type of thing, and the Norwood Fair is a good example, all volunteers. You're right. It's really hard to get volunteers nowadays. We're seeing it with everything. And sometimes you do have to pay for it. But that being said, public money, I think it's been said over and over and over. So we just I don't think anybody here is saying that we don't support a festival. It's just kind of living within your means. Right. So some of the other festivals like Celebrate Havelock, I'm on that committee. And last year we had to get some assistance. And this year it's looking really good. So like you're saying, hopefully this will be seed money to carry on for the next year. But that being said, there is no way you're going to be able to, do $100,000 every year if it wasn't for the grant. So, you know what, a 2-day festival, and doing it through volunteers, that's what drives Ontario is volunteers. And unfortunately it's slipping. We're seeing it, all of us have been involved in different things. So moving forward, I think what we need to see is some numbers here. I don't think the decision can be made today is supporting $20,000. supporting. I'm sure there is some support here. I'm guarantee it, but I just don't know about the 20,000. I think we need to see some books and if we've been sent those things, we'll get them out and council can be brought up to speed and we can deal with it as quickly as possible so it doesn't mess you up as far as timelines. But like it's a great thing. I was at the first one and it was amazing. Met lots of people and kudos to you.
Yeah, exactly.
That being said, you'll have to decide how much of a volunteer you want to be. Like maybe you're going too big for 5 people to carry such a big festival.
Yeah.
Hart.
I just wanted to ask, because it doesn't sound like we're gonna make a decision here today. In terms of time, Dave, because I think a lot of us have expressed, we do like the festival. We do think it's, something we want in this community. We want it to grow. So I mean, moving forward, time frame wise, like I said, council's asked you for something. How soon do you need an answer one way or the other to be able to move, because we're probably less than 2 months from the festival now, right? I know that's why you're
interested in moving forward. Though
what I'm saying is basically is there cut-off date. So I mean, like if we don't do this before Christmas, it doesn't only give you a couple of weeks to plan a festival. I mean,
I think really and truly like we do need to move quickly. Essentially, like we need to book things now. And the way we've always done this in the past is like our committee, and there was a couple of local businesses that just essentially said, just go and hopefully it all works out and we'll make it work. And that's how we've done it in the past. And I'm just not in, right now, I'm not in the financial position to go and book talent on
for sure. No, I wouldn't either.
So I'm not really sure that I want to take that risk.
So I'm just gonna make a motion here. Is a week? We have another meeting in a week, next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
Could you have what council's asked you for in terms of a report for Fire and Ice 1 and 2 or whatever they've asked for here available for that meeting? And then that way, as I said, we could sit and at least
Or the first meeting in January, whichever works easier for you, because I don't know how you'll get that ready in a week.
I'm thinking in terms of him having more time of booking.
Yeah.
First week of January, I think is cutting it close for the.
Yeah, I don't think I would be interested in waiting till the January meeting. I think that we would just call the festival as a no-go.
So if I was to make a motion, say asking you to bring back those reports for, before our meeting next Tuesday, so we could discuss it then, is that something that you could do?
Yeah, I would need a little bit of time to just think about if that's even possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
To produce it that fast.
So we'll leave it at that though. If the motion is there, and then you can get back to us whether you can make it happen. It's like I say, I don't think you're hearing that we all want to see this happen. How big it is, I don't really know, but there is so many things around public money, and that's going to be something over the next, this term is one of the things we want to know is any of the partners, if we're going to be loaning money. And I think that's going to be one of the things that we come up with as far as grants. It came up at the end of the last term, and we are going to put a policy in place around community grants and how we do that. And so we can, I guess, the open and transparent, that word's been used over and over in the last few months. And that's what we need to do today. Like I say, that one number that I had there, the 41 sponsors from all the businesses, how much was that? I have no idea. One of the businesses said they paid $500. So if all of them paid, you had $20,000 come in there, and then there was 20,000 from Wendell Clark. But if we can put all of them together and see if this is sustainable, that's what we need to know. And if it's not just throwing it out the window, it's accountability. That's all we're looking for. So, okay.
Well, and again, Dave and Amanda, you guys have done an amazing. I love the idea of the 2-day. I really, let's keep it. I mean, I know we want to expand, and maybe going forward, we could start a little earlier for next year, and we'll, be more prepared with our budget and stuff. But I mean, we're all behind you. It's the finances and reporting to the public,
Right.
But you guys have done an amazing job.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I agree with that. Thank you to both. I haven't said thank you to Amanda, but Just for clarification for council for consideration, we talked a little bit about active. The ask today, is it for a straight 20,000 or is the group open to, as we discussed there, possibly 20,000 from council payback on the, with grant money? Or is this a straight up ask for 20? Or have you decided?
I think that, as our grant is written, it's a straight up ask for $20,000.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
You know, we would be, we don't even know if it's crazy that we don't know if we're getting this grant.
Oh, and to be fair, in that, you may not be able to pay us either, right? It might be in the grant.
That's what I'm worried about. I'm worried that if.
But we can investigate that. I'm just thinking about it in terms of us. You've heard how important the public money is on this end, right? So I mean, I personally, I don't have any money handing it out if I know I'm getting it back in a month or two. But we'll have to go down that road, okay?
Right.
All right. Is there any other questions for Dave and Amanda?
I guess I'm just wondering if you can specifically email us what exactly you want. Could one of you do that to hbn.proud@gmail.com? So you're looking, just so we have clarification on exactly what you're looking for.
Just your expense.
Financial report from one of you.
Yeah.
Where the money's going, how it's
And
getting.
the sponsorship,
No, well, that should be probably in there, what you brought in for sponsors.
because there's different tiers of.
Yeah, I know.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah.
So that's
And also with the grant, I mean, we applied for that amount, but then we may not get it, or they could give us half of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are the upcoming costs then to do this festival that you want to do for the 30 days or?
We
Do you have
can,
any idea what?
we do, we have a full budget that is in our grant report, and I can share that grant report with you.
That would be
We'll
good.
need to see that too.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
1 and 2 and the grant.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we'll, I imagine there'll be a staff report come back too, or something from economic development. So, yeah, that's good. I think it's just things that we need to know when it comes to public money. And believe me, we're asked all the time. There's been several grants that have been given out with no tracing of where it was spent. So I don't
That
want.
absolutely makes sense.
Accountability, right?
Yep. So, okay. So thanks for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'll look for a motion to receive the delegation moved by Deputy.
Well, I had a motion.
So through you, Mayor Martin, there is a motion on the
Okay.
floor moved by Deputy Mayor Webb.
Yeah. Okay, that we get the.
Get the report, and everything, and then carry it back to next
So,
Tuesday's
so I
meeting.
have an email to.
I can I'll send you today's resolution from council.
Perfect.
Quick draft reads that organizers of the Fire and Ice Festival provide a financial summary of all expenses and revenues from Fire and Ice 1 and 2 at next week's council meeting.
And we're gonna add the grant application, the breakdown, I think.
Yeah.
Budget, yeah.
The
like what's
budget,
it gonna
that's the word I was
cost
looking
this
for.
year? And what did it cost in 20?
Yeah, that's what they're gonna give us.
In
Yeah.
2021, what were the
Actual cost.
expenses on that? Just curious.
Okay, so we have a mover. Do we have a seconder for that? Seconded by Councillor Doherty. All in favor? And that's Karen.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you.
Okay, so we're moving to the next item. The staff reports for information, and it's a building report for October. So, give you an idea, is it a motion to receive that report for information only, but motion to receive moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, seconder. Councillor Clement, all in favor, or question?
Question around it, can we make addendum starting in January that we get the mileage put back on the building report? Because I think we took it off in November or something. Is that the time to do that, or is it another day?
You may move the motion today if you wish.
Yep.
Sorry, and what, I'm sorry.
So we used to have mileage on there for the month. And it doesn't have that anymore, so.
Through you, Mayor. Yeah, Travis didn't think it was necessary on the reports, but if you want to change that, then they'll have to go back to what they do is they have to record their every time they go to inspection. They have to total
The
their
kilometers.
kilometers that they're driving.
Yeah.
No, it's pretty you put down the speedometer reading on the first of the month and the end of the month.
They do it every day. They go out every time they go on an inspection. They just.
Probably because the truck's used by different people too, like it's not just the building department, so.
I just think it's important that we know what's the mileage is going on for future reference. That's more than anything, not so much on a day-to-day,
Okay, all right then, so
my opinion.
we have a motion on the floor that we return to mileage for the building department.
So it'll be just once a month total, but we don't.
Yeah, it would be
But
included.
then we have to remember, not just building, you in the truck.
No, so it would be the building report, just for the building,
Yeah, I don't know.
That's
It's all totaled in.
That should be done daily.
By law,
Saying that.
track, planning keeps track and Travis will keep track and Rob will keep track.
and I think that's why they got rid of it, is it was the truck's being used by so many different people. But that being said, yeah, so the motion is that building department tractor mileage.
Similar to what it was before.
We'll just do the mileage in note and then we'll just know that that's what the truck is driven, I guess, for the.
Yeah, like you said, the easy way would be to lump, because if it's the truck that you're worried about and how many miles the truck is getting on it, it would be easier to put like building and planning, like just do like you said, just take the mileage at the beginning of the month and the mileage at the end of the month, and whatever's on that truck on the first of the month to the first of the month is the mileage for that truck. It's not really.
It's not a cab truck.
There's two trucks.
No, there's two
They're not
trucks
cab
and
truck. They're
different, even
somewhere.
by law enforcement uses it sometimes. Yeah, it's used by a number of people. So, but, you know, is that what you mean, Jerry, or you want just the building?
Well, first of all, I didn't know that we had two trucks and several uses. So once you know that, but we were doing it before. So whatever method or mechanism we had in the past, I guess it worked because it was on there up until last month, I believe.
Yeah, I think it was because it was used by only the building department at one time, and then it got that it was used by so many people that it was getting. So it's basically a report for the truck, the mileage on the truck, first of the month to the first of the month. Is what you'd be getting, where before we started sharing the truck more with all departments. So that's why I think it fell off the cart, because it was, you know, planning using it, by law enforcement. So it wasn't, it was easy to keep before, but now it's being used by so many different people. It was just a little harder to track without doing it every day. And that can be done, but it's another thing to do, so.
Well, it's just for the sake of the assets, Jerry, when like, you know, when we decide to trade the truck in to get another one, or like, what is the purpose of keeping the mileage? What's the reasoning behind it?
Well, maybe there's other options. If we don't know how many miles they're using it, frequency.
Well, I'm just saying, why can't we just do the once a month and then we say, yeah, we've used it.
Let's try that.
Four departments have used it.
Well, in essence, planning and building are kind of wrapped into the one
And by law.
anyway, and bylaw.
Yeah.
So they're all kind of one department. It's just to get a handle on it. And yes, we do need to know for future too.
Okay, but once a month, like you.
Yeah, like,
Well, no, it's just whatever they like to do a regular monthly report, Sonia, right?
We do a monthly report.
Yeah, so
so first to the first,
Yeah.
you know, if you did a report that way, that would keep it simple, and we would have an idea.
I don't want to create work, only I
Yeah.
think it's important that we know what our vehicles, what kind of mileage we're.
Should we do that with all the departments then?
Sorry,
Maybe we should do it with all the departments.
perhaps.
What other,
Oh,
I imagine, like, I know the big trucks have
Roads,
to do that
parks,
for
and rec.
vehicle checks, they have to write down.
should
but-
keep them all.
Maybe when we get our wish list, maybe that's one of those things in there.
Okay, so the motion is that we return to monthly mileage report on the, for now, the building trucks, and we'll look at, when we have our meetings with the other departments, we can see if it's feasible. Maybe it would help us, like you'd say, understand in the future on how much the vehicles are getting used.
Well, I think we have something called green now, and we're pretty conscious of our green and our footprint and our carbon and all these other things. So, and then we have the new bill coming in that's going to strip away some revenue from us. So the other one is you have to keep track of your expenses. I would assume anyway, we'd want to keep the beans in the right jars.
Okay.
So,
So-
sorry, through you, Mayor. And do you want a separate kilometer reading for the 2011 truck and a separate reading for the 2018 truck?
If we're using two trucks, yeah.
So just, yeah.
Okay, I didn't do that. We didn't do that before, so,
Oh, okay, it was all on both vehicles accumulated, okay,
yeah.
okay, okay. All right then, so we have a mover that we that we collect the mileage monthly on the building trucks. Is there a seconder for that motion? You're the new mover.
I thought he moved one before that. There was a motion on the floor before, wasn't there? I just commented on it.
Okay, and Bev is seconding it. All in favor? Just one. And that's carried. So, okay, we'll give. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
So the other reports here is, we have moving into staff reports with follow-up action, and number 10 there, we already did that. That's with regards to appoint council to the committee of adjustment. We voted on that earlier. The next item is fire emergency management update.
Sorry, if I could, through you, Mayor Martin, just to explain that report. Provincial legislation does mandate that if council acts as the committee of adjustment for the township, which here we do, then council must be appointed annually as the committee of adjustment, and then we have to send that bylaw to the province. So that's what that report is telling us, and that just satisfies that requirement. There's a bylaw for this year and then a bylaw for next year. So perhaps we could just get a resolution to support that recommendation. I know we passed the bylaws already.
Okay, so sure. Okay, moved by Councillor Doherty and seconded by Councillor Clement. That
This is all in your shoulders?
so for committee of adjustment. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so the next item here is emergency management update.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. So this report is of a similar nature. Every year, we are mandated by the provincial government to provide a year-end submission. And part of that year-end submission is we are to adopt an emergency management program, an emergency response plan bylaw. We update our bylaw annually to include, sometimes there's staff changes or role changes in the emergency management group. So we do update that bylaw annually. So this report provides that bylaw in the bylaw section of today's meeting.
Okay, so the recommendation is here. Everybody's read it. It's for a mover on this to go with the recommendation. All right, Deputy Mayor Webb is going to move it. Yeah, and Councillor Clement is second. All in favor, please. Okay, all right. And the next item we have is commencement of the budget process. So we're moving into the budget process, and
Yeah, if you just give me one moment, I'll go get our treasurer and he's going to join us for this discussion and I'll be right back.
okay, so you want to take, I'll get a,
All right, we need to recess.
yeah, so I'm gonna get a
Need some water, that's all.
All right, perfect time.
5-minute recess. Can I get a mover for that? Moved by Councillor Doherty, seconded by Councillor Clement. All in favor? All right, so today I'm gonna go around the table and just get one or two things that, you know, that you've been thinking about that you would like to see, you know, into the budget process. Either it's items that you want to see happen or come into it, or I don't know whether it's the process side of it. I think that'll be after your update next week, but so, you know, so maybe I'll start with you, Kathy, and
Sorry, if we could just get a motion to resume.
oh,
We
sorry.
went out for recess.
All right, motion to resume, Councillor Doherty, Councillor Clement, all in favor, and that's carried. Okay, so I'm gonna go around the table and then, you know, and you can hear it loud or what, you know, kind of where we're coming from. It's, you know, like I say, it's high level for today. But at least we're gonna be starting into the process. So,
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt again. I just want to quickly introduce the report, which discusses budget priority. So we have listed on our website, we do have a public survey that's out there. And it will be out there till early January. I believe the 3rd is the date. So we will consolidate that information and bring it back. But we start we're starting our budget process with just going around the table, as Mayor Martin said, and getting some council priorities. And then we will take that away if necessary and get some numbers and then come back.
Okay, so is this like our wish list?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So the one I know that isn't our realm is of course the light out here at 7, but that's provincial. But just locally, out of the Cordova Community Center, that gazebo is gonna fall in. I went out last week and like you can literally touch it and it's like, and I talked to was there a parks guy?
Ryan?
I talked to Ryan about it and we're gonna talk again about it because it really does need to be replaced. And they've got, that rec group has got great plans for the future. So I'd like to see them have not so much a gazebo, but what do you call this, like a shelter, a barbecue shelter or whatever? They've got the spot there. And they're willing to work really hard on a lot of this stuff. So that would be one of the things on my wish list. My second thing is I'd like to see something developed at the community center, like indoor track, I'd really like a pool.
Oh,
Well, you know, like some other places have them, you know. But you know what, in the winter, like if a lot of the kids don't play hockey or whatever, like, you know, like if there was an indoor pool where, you know, we have lessons, we have the seniors, it's a big win for a lot of people. Okay, that's my wish, sorry.
Art? You're going to need a lot.
Like spending money.
I do, well, for only if it's to the benefit of the public.
So I won't get in, I think you're gonna talk about most of the bigger things. I'd like to think this council to concentrate, we got a number of major projects on the go from wastewater to George Street starting next year. To in the background, we've got the new municipal office and roads department up there. I think we really need to keep our eye on that here in the next year or two to make sure these things keep moving forward. In the past, I think some of these bigger projects, i.e. LTC, maybe get overlooked from time to time, which is another one that we need to stay on. Personally, I think we talked about, we all know the condition that many of our sports groups are in. Local service groups as well, and one thing more about local minor sports. So the mayor and I have talked last term, and now we're discussing it with you guys in terms of having a sports committee, probably something that would meet maybe 3-4 times a year, meet with minor hockey, figure skating, soccer, and all these local organizations, basically just to have a dialogue with them. A lot of their, just like us here in municipal politics, a lot of the things in their realms are changing through rules, insurance, everything like that. Insurance is a major one. So what I would like to do is, and the mayor and I had a meeting with them, I think it was March or April, Jim, just to kind of address some of these issues. Maybe there's ways we can help on a municipal level, whether it be carrying their insurance through our insurance, you know, we're cost sharing. Like we're not paying their insurance, but it'd be kind of under an umbrella of ours or whatnot. Things like that, thinking out of the box, right? Because as I said, minor hockey this year is down to 1 team. I think they had 2 teams last year. These things are hanging by not even a thread anymore, you know? So, and I'm quite convinced that if they go, they're probably not going to come back, right? So try and work with them to see if we can kind of bring something about. One other thing that we've been kind of working with through ECDev was, well, the economic development has been talking about, they went a little bit bigger in terms of a rebranding strategy. So you'll probably hear more about that coming forward, but I would like to have more of a focus kind of on, I get a lot of comments from people about our gateway signs. So when you come in the municipality, whether it be from Campbellford on 50, that's one, it's an old sign, right? Come this way, you got a newer sign. Anyways, they're all different. One says Havelock with a population of 13,000. One will say one with 1,300. The other one says 6,000. I'd like to have some kind of uniformity. So moving forward, I think through this committee, we're going to try and develop a plan. One of the ideas I had, it worked really well with our Matheson property committee. We had a competition for the logo for the Matheson. So I don't know if you guys the new Matheson logo. I think it was quite successful. It was probably better than anything that we could have created ourselves. So I'm thinking hopefully the economic development, obviously it's a decision of the committee, would go that way too. I think it saves us 20, 30, however many $1,000, we're gonna have to get it, you know, a consultant to design it and whatever,
Exactly.
so, and have it, somebody local do it. Further to that, ECDev, we've been talking about doing kind of signage somewhere along Highway 7 here, so kind of between the highway and the railway tracks. This has been ongoing for 4 or 5 years, but anyways, what it would be is for people like, we got the Chamber of Commerce kiosk there, so a lot of people use it. They're looking for something else to draw people there, so the idea we had was kind of like a general, kind of like a walking path signage area. So you'd have 4 signs. Then this is all open to discussion. This is just the original kind of throw it there. So you might have a sign with the history of the town of Havelock, another sign with the history of Belmont-Methuen, or a sign with the history of mining in Havelock, or the railway, exactly. It could be anything. So anywhere from 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, however many the committee decides on. But kind of like a little area there. So what I envision is, say you use the kiosk, you come out of there, there might be a little walk path, right? So you kind of walk the path in a circle, whatever, and along your way, exactly, that you got a sign here, a sign there. I don't think it's going to be a major cost. We put a sign in at Matheson for probably 10, 12 grand. So I imagine the signs I'm looking out there would be similar. So I'm hoping the whole project we could do for probably 50 or 60 grand, but I've got Sherry kind of hunting down grant money through ECDev for that. We had a line on red money before, but that ran out. So that's just kind of what I was looking at in terms of, I'm not looking too big here. Like I said, I think we got enough big projects that are already sitting there looking. So I don't really have anything new, but I like what Kathy's offered. Like, I'm not against new stuff. I'm just saying for myself, that's all. I'd like to see the sports committee. Because as I said, I think hockey's going, and I think the other ones probably aren't far behind, right? Unless without addressing something. And maybe that means, hey, you know, maybe that means us eventually, whether it be hockey or soccer, merging with Norwood or another community, I don't know. But just to help them through that process, right? And make sure that these services are still here for the kids in our community. So, because there's too many of them playing our, you know, sports in other communities, and I don't like that, so.
Yeah, sorry, can I go back there? So I knew about all the capital projects. I mean, that's amazing what you guys have accomplished. I was just sort of thinking like.
No, for sure. But I knew you guys would kind of, I didn't want to load up Lionel's plate here today. Too big. So.
So there's gonna be more opportunity, but this is just to give like first blush on where we're thinking, like, because nobody knows, you know.
Which was the sports committee and ECDev signs for the highway.
All right.
Okay. Bev?
Oh, I think for myself personally,
Yeah, like what your priorities, what you've heard, and what you think we need, and like, you know, that you would like to see for budget.
for budget reasons, okay, I'd like to see more in the parks. I'd like to possibly see a dog park. I think that would be amazing for this area. I think that's right out of the box, and as far as I know, I don't think the surrounding areas have one. Sounds pretty simple. I haven't looked into that, but I will. I agree with Hart in changing signs, because when I come into town, it's just a town. It really isn't that special, and it should be. Like that number 7 should be, this is our, like I've driven in many towns, like out west, Alberta, wherever, and some towns are just like, wow. You go into Edmonton, yuck. It is, it's gray, it's dull, so I think we need some sort of a facelift for Havelock.
Welcome, Havelock.
Yeah, and including George, which I know, I'd like fancy lights, and I know we have the lights there, Jim, but there's got to be something we can add to those poles that will draw your eyes to the lights, not poles and the wires and all that.
So that kind of goes along with the bigger picture
Like
Art mentioned about George Street. There's little extras that might come under that we might be looking for.
Fancy street lights.
Fancy street lights, yeah. And there's many people that would like them the goo wall, a mural put on that, which would reflect our township.
So that's a county wall, but
is it? Okay.
So, okay.
Just a thought.
Thank you.
Tell her about the up there. Your school project. You're on?
The mural on the wall.
Oh, yes, there is a plan to have a mural on the wall at Patterson Park.
Patterson.
Right here.
That's the corner.
Take the side.
Right.
Wow.
That's an open George.
That's part of the original.
Is it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so.
So council will ultimately determine what that mural looks like, because we don't have that yet, but that's a work in progress.
Good. And the signage out there by DJ Trailers, does it still say home of the Havelock Jamboree?
Yeah, that's an MTO thing, but,
Do they pay a fee for that? or-
No.
No, that's. I'm just not sure where the Jamboree is or where it'll ever be.
Yeah.
I don't know.
hopefully we hear soon.
Yes, okay.
So, okay. All right, Jerry?
Strategic plan, get an RFP out to get a cost for the consultant to run our plan. And then one step further is maybe to get staff to brainstorm with how we can improve our penetration and maybe look at our past surveys. We've done surveys for just about everything. Our results are okay, but I think I'd like to see more on a strategic plan long term. That's number one. Number two is I'd like an RFP for GPSs for all of our equipment and Havelock-Belmont-Methuen. And if I'm allowed one more, is to make some changes with respect to presentation of the budget. More the finished product. So when it's posted, people know, I know that everything's on site and everything is on camera, but during the campaign time, that was one thing that was feedback to me is the transparency, and let's try and make it. I don't know how we can make it more transparent, but make it more transparent now. And they want to know where the money's going. That's the real key thing. And I think we know where it's going. Maybe they don't read through the whole online site that we have, but that'd be a couple of wishes. I have more, but I'll settle for those.
Okay, so you touched on one of mine is the strategic plan. I think that's the most important document we need to get going. And yeah, we will have to deal with that first thing in the new year as far as it might, I don't know how it works with the budget or, but there is a budget. It's going to cost something. What it is, I have no idea. I'm a little out of touch on that. I know what it was last time, but, and the other part of that, and nobody likes paying consultants, but, service delivery review. We did it at the county, last term. And I didn't know what it was until we did it. And I heard about it through Duro and Kevin Monaghan. It started from Kevin Monaghan, and it's amazing just to go through what we do and how the processes we have. And there's some real savings that can happen. Now we're a lot smaller, so I'm sure it's a lot, there's only so much you can save, but it would be something to look at to see, an RFP to see what it would cost to do a service to the review on all our departments on how we deliver it. So
Is that the work simplification that we spoke about? Kind of like that? Is that what?
Kinda, it's about sharing and that, and I know that's already happening, from the county down, and that's what I talked about earlier with far as, our neighboring municipalities. So there might be things that like I have no idea, what it would cost, but I would like to see, like put an RFP out there and see what it would cost to do that process. And like I say, the company that we use there, they drilled right down into the business, and it was amazing. And I really expect to see the old word of efficiencies that, I really think that's going to happen. That's one of the reasons I was looking forward to being back on the county. So, and the sharing thing with the upper and lower, that should make a difference. So, so that was, and the other thing I think it's like Hart said, we have some things already happened. So we need to be prepared, kind of like Bev said, like if Short Street's going to be done, we might want to have a little contingency there for streetlights, because we do hear that all the time, like, just go a little bit above and beyond. We have the town hall. We've committed to fixing that up. We're going to have a line in the budget for the town hall, whether it's happening this year or we need to start contributing to doing what we said we would do. And then the arena, some of the things around sports, one of the things that's supposed to happen this year is the part of that grant is a new plant. So Hart and I had a meeting, like you said, with the sports groups, and we talked about a sports day in Havelock. You were on it, Bev, as the soccer, and we talked about doing it one day. One of the problems we have at our arena is we have a small plant in there. This year, the new plant is supposed to go in. So it's going from a 50 horsepower to 100 horsepower. So we're gonna have lots of room there to be able to get the ice in earlier if we need to. That's one of the things we were lacking. So
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I get from minor hockey about why they're losing kids to Norwood and these others, because Norwood's starting in first or second week of September, right? We're starting in middle to late October for some reason. So
Yeah, they've always done.
once we can get that plant upgraded, right, we could actually get some use out of the rink and start making some money.
and when you talk about, you
Instead of
know,
paying it
walking
out.
track or whatever, there is an addition to happen on there. And, you know, we can look at to make best use of that addition. So,
Start with, like, I mean,
Yeah.
the
Well,
pool's always been my big thing, but I'll set up for a walking track or something that gives like seniors or families, like young moms.
We're having public meetings for that, aren't we?
what's that for? There should be, yeah, there will be some.
Okay, so we'll
We
get
got input.
And it is a grant, so it's limited on what we can do.
Okay.
But hopefully it's got enough movement there that, you know, what that addition is. You know, hopefully there's some, the wording is loose enough there. So anyways, that was the highlights of what council's looking for.
I forgot one thing. I don't want to make a big deal of it, but Dave Smith, or like long-term care, because I didn't bring it up again.
Yeah,
We got to get moving on that. And I understand what we talked about.
Yeah.
But one way or the other, get somebody in here to.
There's gonna be an update on that later today in closed session. We'll bring.
Yeah,
council
I can't
on.
see it.
Yep. So yeah, lots happening. So
Can I just go back to that? What did you work simplification? What was that? What was your terminology? Is it kind of?
service delivery
Service.
review. Yeah, so it's, you know, going to the individual departments and looking at how we do business and if there's things that we can do to make it better. So, you know, like, you know, I can explain it to you better, you know, afterwards, but it's one of those things that, you know, it's, I think, I don't know how new it is, but it's,
We had it done twice at our work and we call it works. And the immediate feedback is, oh, you're checking on the staff.
oh,
And that's probably not a true assessment. What it does is looks at process to see why we're doing it. Where's it going? Can we build a better mousetrap? And that will go right, I think, right up to us. How can we do things better? I mean,
exactly.
what can we make more? Because the better we work and the easier it is for you and Lionel, and it's strictly individual. But normally it gets taken out of context. So we're checking this out and we want to get rid of this. And it is nothing really to do with that. It could be a byproduct because I had it done twice. Once we were reducing staff, the next time we had to add because there was a deficiency in what we were doing. And I thought it worked very well, just a throw in from the past.
And so Jerry, we did the same thing. And what we did was we worked with the staff. We made them part of the committee that went through the process. So you've got non-management, management, and it worked really well. You're right, like.
Well, it has to be pretty well independent and it has to be, because if not, if somebody's always trying to make a little influence because we all know our jobs are pretty darn important. And, you know, like seriously, we all think that we're doing the right thing and maxing out and doing it the right way. If they look at it objective, you don't have to do anything with the report. It just puts you on notice as to where you may or may not get better.
Okay, so that was a high level. You know, I don't know, you got a few notes there, Lionel, and like I say, we're gonna be.
Probably Bianca's are bigger than mine, but yes, I do have.
Okay, all right then, so do you want a motion to receive the?
Motion to receive.
Motion to receive those, that report, from verbal report from mover is, Deputy Mayor Webb, and seconder is.
Pick one.
Counselor Clement. Counselor Clement, all in favor? That's carried. So, right,
Lionel, I'll come get you and bring you back in later. Thank you. Okay,
okay,
thank you.
so you soon.
Yep.
So we're gonna move into correspondence action items. We have 2 action items here. The first action item here is the LFA with regards to looking for some signs, speed signs on the 3rd line. So I think we would move this, forward this to Public Works. So
I'll make a motion
Okay.
to background or.
No, it doesn't matter. It's just, this is for Public Works to look at, and we have a, there is some rules around signs that they, maybe it needs more. Maybe it needs an
I can say
explanation.
at the moment, I think there's only one 60-kilometer-an-hour sign coming each way. So coming off Highway 7 going north 160, coming off 48 coming south 160 in the first few hundred meters of the road, and then no other signage. I've been made aware that along that road in the past 5 to 10 years, there's been a couple younger families move in. So there's an area where there was no kids before, there's more kids playing. So they've requested, I think, one more 60 sign on each end. So another, 2 more 60 signs, and then they want a children playing sign there somewhere along that.
Where's that's the
Third line. Yeah.
Okay, because I had sort of the same request. Somebody at Mary and Joe Wood Road want a 4-way put in. Same thing, 5, 6.
Oh, yeah, you told me that.
Yeah.
That's to tell them to write a letter like
Yes,
this, so it
yes.
came in.
Yeah, now that I know the procedures, yep.
So today we'll be looking for a
I'd
motion
prefer
to
to-
forward this to Public Works, moved by Deputy Mayor Webb and seconded by Councillor Flagler. All in favor? And that's carried. And the next item here is the Havelock Legion here, health and safety letter. So
Yeah, through you, Mayor Martin, and this is something we receive this annually, and I'm not sure if Deputy Mayor Webb can speak. It's something that's distributed through the schools. I don't know if this has come up at your committee. They speak, it's children aged 10 to 12 attending Havelock-Belmont School and Norwood District High School.
Okay,
I believe.
yeah, hold on, I'm getting there.
$15 plus 13% tax per student.
Health and safety. This one. Yeah. I know nothing about this, Bob. Sorry. I
It's never come up
apologize.
at your meeting, okay.
No,
is there a time? Is it a time? I'll get some more information.
Right.
maybe I think I'll tell you. I don't know. Yeah, I think I might have known. I was telling her, but run the thing on how to let your kids stay at home, young kids.
Yeah, that's like babysitting
Yeah,
or whatever. This is
I'm just
totally different.
stay safe with the various kind. Yeah, I don't know. I know I haven't heard that. Ben Hayes.
So we'll have to get some more information from the Legion and bring it back. Is there a time?
They have partnered with the Legion, that's correct.
Yeah.
Daniel was our contribution.
Yeah.
Oh, with that, how they want. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't read it, I didn't understand it, we do it, but I.
So, okay.
So have we done it before then, or?
That's what she said. Yeah, we did.
I think we have. Do you know the number? How much did we contribute last time?
I don't remember exactly, but I believe it was the lowest.
Oh, okay. Right. So it would have been $75.
What do we got? Yep, okay.
Right here.
Or to assist.
That's what we got.
So to support the Royal Canadian Legion Havelock-Belmont branch, you'll have the drug safety project. I believe it's a booklet that they sent. Yeah.
They don't do those joy
I thought we did.
classes in school.
I thought we did the 225 or the 200.
I can quickly check if you want me to.
Well,
They know.
how about do the same as what we did last time?
No.
They don't
So I
do
don't,
that?
sorry, this is a point of order, but I, like, just because I'm a member of the Legion, I don't have to declare a conflict because. That's an integrity commission, I mean, it's got everybody in there.
No, you're fine for this. So we don't know what the number was last time. Not that it matters, but there's some options there and it sounds like a good thing. So we can either come up with a number off of the sheet here, or we can look at what we were last time. So, yeah. So we can do it the lowest. Something tells me it was around the $200.
Yeah, you're probably right, $200.
So I think that's a third class partner for 13 kids. So, $200. I don't know what your thoughts are, but I think it's a good program. It's, it's supporting the community. So I think that's a small donation. So, okay.
I'll second
Sherry's
that.
gonna move it. And then Kathy's seconding it. So all in favor? And that's carried. Good. Okay, so next we have correspondence for information. If there's anything there you want to speak to, if not, I'll get a motion that we receive the balance of the correspondence. There was a congratulations there from MP Ferraris and our Colvin's probably signed.
The 5 counties.
So if I could get a motion to receive the balance of the correspondence. Okay, Councillor Doherty, Councillor Clement, all in favor, and that's carried. All right, so next we have councillor activity reports. And normally we do a update for the county here and normally the part, but there's not a whole lot come out of there. We're in the same mode. We're just doing our orientation and things like that. So there hasn't been a lot of business done, but they've done some things with they did a speed learning thing, which I highly recommend for even small municipalities. Like, it lets us all have one-on-one time with the staff for 15-20 minutes in a musical chairs.
Oh, okay.
And it was really good because you got to ask some questions that you might not ask, in this format. So other than that, the committees were picked and Hart and I have all the committees that we asked for, which is going to keep us busy. Other than that, I don't think there's no activity here. Oh, yes. So we have minutes here from the last term, so we could receive them all. A motion to receive all the minutes from Cemetery Board April 6th, Cemetery Board June 30th, Police Service Board July 27th, Community Policing Committee meeting September 28th, Library Board October 20th, and the Community Policing Committee minutes October 26th. So if I could get a motion for all of them minutes all at once to receive them.
Last year, yes.
Moved by Councillor Clement and seconded by Councillor Doherty. All in favor? And that's carried. So next is activity report. And so
Sorry, through you, Mayor Martin, other business.
did I miss it?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. I'm on the wrong page, you're saying? So, because I don't know where it is. Oh. Okay, so it doesn't go on to the electronic one there, it goes right to other business from councillor activity. So there's written, okay, so we're moving into written oral notice of motion. Do we have any written? There's no written, so is there any oral notice of motion for the next meeting? That'll be something that'll be asked in the future. So if you happen to have a motion that you want to bring forward, what it does is get it on the table. So it would be, if you don't have a written one before the meeting, it would be an oral notice of motion to go on the next agenda. So that's how it works. We kind of heard a little bit about that last week, but yeah.
When does it have to be in?
If you're doing a written one, you would have it before the agenda comes out. You would have one
Wednesday before then or something.
Yeah, so ideally, we try to get our agendas out at least a week before the meeting. So if you want something on the agenda, you would inform us before that. Otherwise, if you bring it to the meeting, we can add it on for the next meeting.
So, like I say, these things you'll get to, and if you have any questions, if you're thinking of a motion or something like that, and you have to, best thing is to phone Bob or Bianca and just say, you know, what the process is, and once you start doing it, doesn't happen very often, but, it will happen over the term that you want to throw a motion in there or move something, so. So other business now? Kathy, you had something here on the maintenance road?
Yeah, sorry, through you, Mayor Martin. So I'd like a presentation from our Public Works on, I knew nothing about this minimum road maintenance, so. And I think if we all had some background as to what is expected of us as a council to provide to our people on fire routes, secondary roads, whatever. I think a small presentation would be helpful going forward because, you know, I've already had a request for some help from one of the lakes. And I think that would be a good presentation to have. So if you going forward, if you could get Public Works to give us a little presentation. I think the more we know, the better it is, right?
Through you, Mayor Martin. So we are planning to have each department do an overview, and that'll be next Tuesday's meeting, and we can include that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's all we have in other business, and that's new. It used to be new business. It's other business now. So that's something that has to be on the agenda ahead of time, so that it's another thing that you get in before the agenda goes out. Otherwise, it'll have to wait till the next agenda. Everything has to be on the agenda so we can work on it. So, so then we'll move into bylaws. And we've dealt with most of the bylaws except number 4. And that's a bylaw to adopt the emergency management program and emergency response plan, meet the requirements of emergency management and civil protection. So, that was the report we had earlier, so I'll look for a motion that we move that bylaw, enact that bylaw. So Councillor Clement and Councillor Flagler. Sure. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so with that, that concludes the open portion of the meeting. So I'll look for a motion to go into closed session under section 239(2)B of the Municipal Act. Gary?
Yeah.
Okay, and seconded by Councillor Clement. All in favor? And that's carried, so.
So just before we do confirming bylaw, could I take a motion and I'll write it out, we'll do the resolution, but all those committee appointments we'll just confirm and open.
Okay.
And then I'll bring a report to the next meeting as well, but if we can just do that, it'll be in the minutes.
So you'll put all the names in.
I will.
So a motion to
approve all those committee
all the
appointments.
committee appointments.
Yeah.
From today's meeting. Okay, so no, moved by Kathy and seconded by Jerry. All in favor? And that's carried. And that's the one, so when those minutes come, like, we'll get a copy anyways. Those are the ones that you'll keep, so you know who's on what first and who's on second, and whatever, so.
You will get that twice. It'll be in your
You can
minutes.
highlight
and
your
it'll be
name in there and say, what the hell did I volunteer for all those things?
Yeah.
I ran out of ink. So, okay, so a motion for the confirming bylaw for today's meeting. It's confirming today's meeting. So,
No, I'm saving for the last.
yeah.
Yeah, he's the new guy now.
Yeah. Okay, so Jerry and Kathy. Okay, a motion to adjourn.
Is that what you're waiting for?
It's 8 years to do that. It's not allowed. Slap down every time.
I tried changing it one time, but I got in trouble.
Yeah.